There's a lot of talk about the filibuster these days, the procedure in the Senate ostensibly designed to assure that every senator has the chance to say whatever they want about any matter before that body. In the last 120 years, the filibuster has been increasingly deployed for the purpose of slowing or stopping legislation, leading ordinary people to ask the very obvious question, is that okay? Is that really what the Constitution requires? And the answer to that reasonable question is hell no. The filibuster is a fraud, or we should say the quote unquote or modern filibuster is a fraud. And my purpose in the couple minutes I might have your attention here is to convince you that it is unjustifiable in any representative democracy. So here's how the filibuster works. It's actually very simple. If any senator requests it, literally any one senator, then a bill can be transformed into one that effectively requires 60 votes for it to pass the Senate. So long as it's not a confirmation or within budget reconciliations, the senator has the power to say, I want 60 senators to support this bill before I will allow it to become a bill of the Senate. That's it. It's just that simple. But the consequence of that simple rule is to transform the Senate from a majoritarian institution where the majority rules to a super majoritarian institution where the majority must beg the minority for the capacity to govern. Now, those who defend the filibuster say this is justified, first on the basis of tradition, second on the basis of minority rights, and third because of the importance of deliberation. Let's take each of these in turn. First, tradition. Look, there's no doubt that the Constitution of the United States embeds a fundamental principle of majoritarian democracy. There's no filibuster clause anywhere in the Constitution. And indeed, for the decades after the Constitution was enacted, the Senate had a simple rule that said that if a majority chose to end debate and move to a vote on a bill, that majority would prevail. But we should not forget that our Constitution is not actually the first Constitution of the United States. The first Constitution was the Articles of Confederation, and that was a supermajoritarian Constitution. It required supermajorities, up to 70% of the states, to pass important legislation. And so we might look at that and ask, was that system a success? Did we see lots of states working together to address the hard problems of the age? And the answer to that question is well known to everybody who knows about American history. No, that was a total and utter disaster. That Constitution had to be ripped up by our framers, and they crafted in its place a Constitution that embedded a fundamentally different idea: majoritarian democracy. Okay, 50 years after our Constitution was crafted, this man, John C. Calhoun, began to innovate to find hacks to delay action in the Senate for bills that John Calhoun did not like. This was a kind of proto-filibuster. It wasn't really to stop the bills, but just to slow down their consideration. And Calhoun defended his innovations on the basis of, quote, minority rights, and second, on the basis of the importance of deliberation. Let's take each of these in turn. First, minority rights. The critical thing to recognize about the, quote, minority rights that John C. Calhoun was talking about is that they have nothing to do with minorities. John C. Calhoun didn't give squat diddly about minorities. He thought slavery was a positive good. Minority for him just means the side with fewer votes. We might call them the losers. They should win too. Sometimes, at least, Calhoun thought. Now, that's an interesting idea, kind of weird in a democracy, but the key to see is that it's not about protecting minority rights. Indeed, if you look at our history, the only effective filibusters in the period 1877 to 1964, and by effective, I mean effective in blocking a bill, not just slowing it down, were filibusters to block civil rights, not a pro-minority rights position. Okay, what about deliberation? The filibuster, it is said, protects deliberation. Well, maybe at one time, notice the old font there, but not anymore. Maybe with the old filibuster, but not with the modern filibuster. And the evidence for that is made most clear in the recent outrage with the filibuster in the For the People Act in the Senate on June 22nd, 2021. Because on that day, 50 senators voted to begin debate on that critically important reform legislation. But debate couldn't begin because of the modern rules of the modern filibuster. It was different before. Under the old filibuster, at least you had to speak. Strom Thurmond had to stand on the floor of the Senate for 24 hours to slow the passage of the 1957 Civil Rights Bill. But now, with the new and improved filibuster, with the modern filibuster, there's no need to speak. Just send a leader a text. I want to filibuster this bill. And after you send the text, the debate is stopped unless 60 senators say no to you. The reality of the modern filibuster is the modern filibuster stops debate. The modern filibuster gags debate. The modern filibuster blocks deliberation. Okay, so the filibuster is not about deliberation, it's anti-deliberation. The filibuster is not about minority rights, it's anti-minority rights. The filibuster does not respect our tradition. It's contrary to the values of our founding. It's a corruption of the majoritarianism at the core of our Constitution. So then who likes this system? Well, it's not very hard to explain this. If it takes 60 votes to pass anything through the Senate, that means it takes just 41 votes to block anything in the Senate. And those 41 votes are easy to cobble together, given the extremely partisan, polarized nature of American politics today. If you look at the states where Trump won by at least 10 points, sometimes much more than 10 points, it is trivial to put together 42 votes from 21 states representing just 21% of America's population. 21% have the capacity to block anything in the Senate. 21% representing the most extreme far right in America. So what the filibuster does is it gives the far right a veto over legislation in the Senate. It thus gives the far right control over what our government does. The lesson here is clear. The modern filibuster holds democracy hostage. It blocks the will of the majority on the basis of the most extreme minority. It is a democracy-defeating device. And if it's not clear from what I've said so far, in my view, it must go now. You can check out where your senator is on this important question at equalcitizens.us/itmustgo. Go there, share this talk, and say to your senator, where do you stand on the question of representative democracy? Thanks very much.